Welcome. I'd like to welcome everyone out to the commission meeting today. It's great to have everyone here. It's a beautiful day out there, and thank you so much for coming out. We're going to have an invocation by Commissioner Gibson. Pledge allegiance will be by Matthew Larson, and then the thought of the day will be by Commissioner Ebert. So we'll go to that point.
Please pray with me. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity that we have to be gathered here today and be a part of this amazing and wonderful community, for the opportunity that we have to serve one another in so many different capacities, and for the opportunity that we have to be together. We're grateful for this great county and for all of the good people in it. We ask a blessing that we might be able to recognize the goodness in all of those who we come in contact with. At this time, Father, we especially express our gratitude for this wonderful Christmas season. For Thy Son and our Savior, we pray that we might recognize the value of what that might be able to bring to all of those throughout the world. We are thankful for the opportunity to change ourselves just a little bit during this Christmas season, and pray that we might be able to continue those good traits and good behaviors as we move forward throughout the new year. Now, Father, please bless us with wisdom and Thy guidance today as we discuss the things that are important to do our county business. Please bless us that we might be able to always keep in mind the best interests of all of those whom we represent in this great republic. And these things we pray for and ask for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick thought by Gandhi. A man who works regularly in a systematic fashion never feels overworked or tired. He knows his limits and is able to do in a fair time all that he undertakes. It is not hard work that kills a man, but irregularity or lack of a system. I'll talk about systems later.
Thank you.
Wow.
We're going to have to think about that for a minute.
That's what I'm
Next
failing
time
at.
use the little letters so I can understand it better. But
Commissioner, while we're on this thought portion before we move on to our agenda, could I just make a comment? I wanted to tell one of our staff members who will strangle me for doing this, wish her a very happy birthday. Shelley Hallisey, our office coordinator, is going to turn 29 tomorrow. And so if you walk into the office, you'll see that they've decorated just a little bit for her, because she is so key to everything that we do here at Weber County and in the commission office. And we just want to wish her a great happy birthday. So thank you, Shelley. We can sing if you'd like. Okay.
thank you. Yes, it's pretty festive up in our office today for which birthday it is, and I remember that birthday many years ago, and I don't know that it was real festive, but you boys don't remember. Yeah, that's true. I do a little bit. Okay, we're going to jump on to the consent items. Request for approval of warrants 411959 to 412143 in the amount of $2,725,287.42. Number 2, request for approval of purchase order in the amount of $157,170.87. Number 3, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Gold Foundation to attract, promote, and develop local, national, and international sporting events and direct specific efforts to reinforce the image of Weber County as a high-adventure, outdoor recreation destination. Number 4, request for Weber County Tax Review Committee for approval of property tax refunds for the following properties: Gloria Fugeri, parcel number 13-093-0023, refunded in the amount of $824.18. Walter Ben, parcel number 80-385-0008, refunded in the amount of $818.40. Dwayne Gomez, partial 02-014-0051 refund in the amount of $562.29. Janae Penrod, parcel 08-075-0028, refund in the amount of $74.42. Linwood, parcel 08-006-0033, refund in the amount of $2,012.50. Request for approval of a change order number 4 for Staker Parsons on the 12th Street project. Request for approval to set the date of January 3rd, 2017 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing to consider and take action on a request to vacate a portion of Old Snow Basin Road, dedicated public thoroughfare located approximately 5923 Snow Basin Road. Number 7, request for approval of a flood control permanent easement and property restoration agreement by and between Weber County and O&O Hanson Farm LLC. Number 8, request for approval of a real estate purchase and sell agreement by Weber County and Lori Rasmussen for parcel number 05-060-0058. Wow. Ricky, spent a lot of money last week.
We did. Let's talk about purchase orders first. We issued 31 POs last week for $157,000. 37% of that, or 58,000, was for IT. This was primarily for phone switches and software and telephones. 36%, or $56,000, was for the health department, and that was for office furniture and vaccines. 9%, or $14,000, was for the library, and that was mostly repairs and maintenance. 8%, or $13,000, was for Golden Spike, and that was for flooring and concessions. For our checks, we had $2.7 million in spending this week. That is made up of 187 checks. 1.9 million of that, or 70% of that amount, was for transportation projects, mostly 12th Street, but also 3500 West and also 4700 West out in West Haven. 10%, or $279,000 of that amount, was escrow releases to 3 developers, and 6%, or $154,000, was a ramp award given to Weber Pathways.
Wow. Thank you. Any questions, Commissioners?
Well, I just have a comment on the item with the Goal Foundation. It was just brought to our attention that Jenny had been over and said maybe there was a slight error in one of the lines, but I think we should go ahead and move forward with it. It was just a simple, based upon the presentation that was given last week, comfortable with where we are. The change will be a simple deletion of one of the events that they used to put on that was left in the contract from years past, that to make sure that we know that they don't actually produce that particular event anymore. So,
But the amount that we're giving them doesn't
amount,
change.
the amount is exactly the same. I think
Correct.
they just wanted to make sure that the expectations were clear of what they were putting on, what events they were putting on. So I'm comfortable with moving forward with the contract, and with the understanding that there may be an event in there that they don't actually produce anymore. So we move forward with that. I'm good with that.
I'll take a motion unless there's more comment.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the consent items as
I have a
read.
motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number F, action items. Discussion or action on the 2016 Weber County Local Transportation Fund project priorities. Doug Larson's here. Make a quick note here. We dedicated a couple of days ago a bridge that connects as Riverdale to Roy. It's over by Parker Drive where the roundabout is. And we had the mayor from Riverdale there. And it is a awesome situation. We have connected major portions of Weber County now. The connectivity we have in Weber County went so far forward that day. And we'll continue going forward, I'm sure, in the years to come. But that was a WACOG project, which was this local transportation fund project. And that's what Douglas is here to talk about. Douglas.
Commissioners, good morning. Thank you, as always, a pleasure to be here. Since 2008, the county and all of the cities through the Weber Area Council of Governments have managed a local transportation fund that is funded by the third quarter cent sales tax in Weber County, and also the $10 quarter preservation fee that we pay when we register or renew our motor vehicles. So we have two transportation funds that all the communities have access to, and the statute has required us to set up an annual application and review and evaluation process. I'm happy to say that Weber County has a model policy in place for that process, and also the statute requires that we annually, that the County Commission approve a priority list. So today we're asking you to approve the 2016 transportation project priorities. Subsequently, assuming you approve this list, these projects individually will come to you in the future through essentially an interlocal agreement. So we're asking the Commission, after a full approval or a unanimous approval by WACOG, to approve the 2016 Weber County Local Transportation Fund requests. And I think I owe you an apology. The spreadsheet we provided you did not have a total amount under the corridor preservation funds and the sales tax funds that are being recommended. So across the list of projects that you have in front of you, we're asking approval of $8,103,758 in sales tax. In terms of corridor preservation, $2,019,110. And I would note that we funded the corridor preservation requests at 100% of what was requested. The sales tax funds were a little bit limited this year and going forward. So we with the evaluation structure that we have in place, the recommendation is funding the projects that were requesting sales tax dollars based on how their evaluation came out as compared to the other competing projects. Do you have questions?
I don't. I just think that the folks need to know that this project and these funds that we collect each year are in the millions, and we started about 4 years ago being able to spend it. We'd built up quite a bit, and this is doing some tremendous road projects in Weber County, and Douglas does a great job managing those projects. They're a very interesting construction projects we've been doing, and the cities are all involved in it. It's a responsibility that WACOG, which is all the county government in Weber County, gets together, and they vote on stuff, and then it has to come to the commission for the final approval, since we're the ones that put the tax on the ballot. And in most cases, we usually go along with what WACOG does each time. Now, there's an occasion when it may not, but it's only happened once or twice. So I appreciate the help that Doug does on this. This is doing some neat stuff in Weber County, so thank you, Doug. So.
You're more than welcome. A pleasure.
Doug, can you tell us just a little bit about the BRT line on there and what the expenditures will be over the next little while?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Thank you. So the Ogden-Weber State UTA transit project that runs from the Ogden Intermodal Hub up to Weber State and McCady Hospital, that project has gone through a number of iterations and 3 or 4 studies since 2005. Status of that project is it's going through what we call the NEPA phase, a federal phase of the process. As part of the 2016 cycle, the project requested $5 million for final design and engineering of that project. It looks very favorable. That project will be supported federally. We don't know at what level yet. Final design and engineering will help finalize to a degree that process. And so as it worked its way through the process, the decision that came through the COG's Transportation Subcommittee and the COG was that that our funds would support 50% of that request. And so we will fund up to $2.5 million of the $5 million that's requested. Other partners, being UTA and Ogden City, possibly the state, the city and the project have applied for funds through Wasatch Front Regional Council. And so when I say up to, we may actually be funding less than the 2.5. The short answer to your question is there's $5 million needed for design engineering. We're funding up to half.
Over what time period?
Those funds will come in 2018 and 2019 as budgeted. And I should note for the record that all of these approvals are up to. We don't simply write a check for $2.5 million. We process invoices as they come through, and if the project spends less money, then the fund retains the remainder. So,
Well,
Yeah. How many times do the projects spend less money?
about
Okay.
about 20% of the time.
Oh,
actually.
so that's good.
Yeah.
So we're still working on the BRT, Commissioner, because I've ran into some roadblocks with UTA that I think some of our local transportation tax needs to be used for. I don't see it on our agenda tomorrow. I don't know why, but I will find out why. This is part of an important part for Weber County. And what it is that they want some of that transportation fund that we collect, they want a lot of that, some of that portion of that to go to the UTA. And I agree with Commissioner Gibson that UTA has great funding streams. And they have a lot of funding. And that's my concern, is that the funding, that we focus and get some of the funding from the UTA, from our sales tax that we just passed in Weber County that we went out on a limb for. And I think some of that money can be used for this, but they've been really, really hard to convince that. Anyway, so there's a lot of moving things there.
Well, so you definitely hit my point, and I mean, I just think that every time we talk about this, I'm going to bring it up because it's a frustration to me. I was in a meeting again the other day where I heard about Utah County's BRT line, and the fact that my understanding is that UTA is basically absorbing most, if not all, of the cost of that. And it's very, very frustrating to me that we continue to be treated differently, and these funds are so limited and so valuable to us. And I just want the message to be heard loud and clear by UTA that I am tired of it, and I expect to be treated at that same level. And frankly, I think maybe some of it is a lack of leadership on our part, because we have got to get our cog together, and we have got to say no to some of these things until UTA comes to the table and treats us appropriately in these negotiations. I'm tired of being second or third or fourth on the list, and as long as we continue to approve lists like this that take valuable money out of our limited funds for road projects, we're going to continue to be left in the dust. Now, that being said, I can understand why it's hard, because the city and the county and all of us understand the need for this project, and we want it to go forward. And if they're saying no, then we kind of have no choice but to say, okay, what do we have to do to make it happen? And so, here we are, faced with swallowing a bitter pill again, and I just want to vent my frustration and make sure that people know it loud and clear, because we, again, as you pointed out, Commissioner, they got 40% of sales tax on the quarter cent that was passed with Prop 1. They got 40% that went directly to UTA, and they are not giving us opportunity to direct where that spending is.
Very little.
They're making those decisions unilaterally. They say, well, we've heard from people where that should be spent, and it needs to be spent on this, this, and this. But what they're hearing is from Salt Lake. And there needs to be a mechanism for local communities, the COG or whoever, to be able to direct where that spending is going to occur within those local communities. The whole point is that Salt Lake County may have different priorities for mass transit than Weber County may, and so I think we have to find a local funding or local mechanism to get that local input into UTA, and then they have to be willing through their board of directors to listen to what we're saying.
Part of the issue there is that the board, we're the only ones that have passed these quarter cent sales tax, Weber County. Davis County has passed one, we've passed two of them. And part of the issue is that the board in Salt Lake, they want to dictate what we do up here in Weber County, everything on UTA. I have been bending over backwards trying to get them to spend the money different. I don't want them to lease buses. It's ridiculous. Our buses are all empty. Don't lease any more buses. But we've been fighting that. Now the board down there, I'm hearing rumor now, the board wants me off the board. I'm supposed to be on it for another 18 months. Our COG can take me off anytime. They want me off because they're tired of somebody asking questions. I jump into it, want to know where their money they're spending on lobbyists, where they're wasting money, and they spend money on a lot of things. So, Commissioner, that's something you could take off this list. You can make a motion, and that could come off that list. They have money to do these things, but they want us to use our transportation money for it instead of some that already comes in from other avenues. So it's been frustrating to me. You know, we have our final board meeting tomorrow to pass a budget. I ask a lot. And so it's been difficult. So anyway, that's where we're at. So Commissioner Ebert, any comments on that? Nope. Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2016 Weber County Local Transportation Fund project priority list as listed.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Passes. Next item. Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next item, request for approval of interlocal cooperation agreement by and between Weber County and Salt Lake County for use of probable cause affidavit computer system developed by Weber County Information Technology Department, and Mr. Bruce Thorpe is here. Hello, Bruce.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for your consideration on this. Weber County IT, the Weber County Sheriff's Office, the District Court, in conjunction, all developed a computer system, electronic probable cause program. It allows the officer to create probable cause statements, have it electronically be able to be approved by the judge. It's a very nice system. Word has got out that we do have this nice system, and other jurisdictions have wanted it. So Salt Lake County has requested that we do this.
Great. I think it is a great system you have. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve an interlocal cooperative agreement by and between Weber County and Salt Lake County for the use of the PC affidavit computer system developed by Weber County Information Technologies, Bruce Thorpe.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Number 3, request for approval of 2 right-of-way contracts by and between Weber County and the following for the 12th Street Road Widening Project. Parcel 25, Parcel 26, Doug and Claudia Hall. Jared, we have got to be getting to about the end of these.
Good morning, Commissioners, and we are getting close to the end of these. We're now in the single digits on 12th Street, so we're really getting close to getting this wrapped up, and these are 2 that we were able to finally get a hold of and get taken care of.
Don't take that comment as a comment where we don't like to come and have you come and see us.
I will.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the right-of-way contracts by and between Weber County for the 12th Street project with parcel 25, Doug and Claudia Hall, and parcel 26, Doug and Claudia Hall.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, Devron, come on up. Request for a recorder surveyor's office for approval to remove the following 3 parcels from the tax roll. 08-104-0015, 14-013-0004, 15-058-0026. Devron.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for letting me come present. The Recorder Surveyor's Office works really closely with the Clerk Auditor's Office every year with tax sale parcels. These are 3 tax sale parcels that have come up for tax sale that nobody's paying taxes on. And under further review, we've found that we believe these parcels should not be on the tax roll. We request that we can remove these tax parcels and replace them with a question mark on our maps.
Thank you. Any other discussion, Commissioners? Not, I'll accept a motion.
Make a motion that we remove those following parcels from the tax roll as listed in item number 4.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I just have a question. What is the determining factor why they would not be then considered on the tax rolls?
Thank you for that question. Our mapping department,
You
they
texted me to ask that question, so I'm just asking the question you asked me to.
You're fine. The mapping department in the Recorder's Office does a phenomenal job. They have to produce these maps. They basically build a jigsaw puzzle, and all they have to work from are the recorded documents that come on record. Unfortunately, in the state of Utah, there's no regulation on who can write these descriptions that come on record. So occasionally, we do find some that are hard to interpret. In an effort to be timely and efficient, we map them, and sometimes they get mapped incorrectly. And after further review, we find that they shouldn't have been mapped that way, or they're being double taxed, or there's just issues that we can't answer based on the information we have. Does
Thank
that
you.
answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, stay right there, Devron. Request for approval of contract by and between Weber County and advance acceptance for the purchase of survey equipment from Monson Engineering. You've been wanting this for a while.
This is going to be phenomenal for us. I really appreciate your consideration on this. We are proposing to enter into a contract where we can lease some equipment from Monson Engineering, which will put that equipment in our hands right away and spread out the burden of that cost over the next 2 years. And it will be phenomenal for us to have updated equipment, top of the line. It will allow us to do our work more efficiently and in a better, timely manner for the citizens of Weber County.
We've been talking about this for a while, so I'm fully aware of where we're headed on this, and I appreciate you bringing this forward, and it's a good thing, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just a little concerned because the last page is the U.S. Patriot Act form that we have to sign. I wasn't even aware we were worried about a Patriot
we might
Act,
not
but
sign it.
apparently we have to sign a form to open this account, so.
All right,
That's beyond me.
I'll take a motion.
I'll move that we approve the acceptance of the purchase for the survey equipment.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we got 3 ayes out of it. Number 6, we're going to hold that one. Number 6 is on hold. Number 7 and number 8 kind of go together. We're going to talk about intergenerational poverty and some different things like that that Commissioner Ebert has really grabbed a hold of. And as I came out of a career in corrections and law enforcement, there is so much tied to intergenerational poverty. There's a big movement going on in Utah right now. The Lieutenant Governor's been doing quite a bit of stuff on that, and I've been excited about that and some of the things that we can do. And we know under this new president we're going to have a board. He's got some real concerns about some of this and be able to move some things forward. So I'm going to let Commissioner Ebert take both those items. We'll take them one at a time for the vote. You might want to give us an overview of all of them, and then we'll go into each one of them for the vote. So do you want to do an overview, or do you want me to just pick one out and do?
Just something really quick. So last week we approved 2 contracts for companies to help us create the structure and then the process of the logistics of rolling that structure out. We presently have no staff within Weber County to move the projects forward or to help us work with sustainability. So these contracts are basically staff contracts. Instead of hiring staff, which sometimes can be a 20-year commitment, what we've chosen to do through these services are hire contract employees to serve as the staff. That gives us a lot more flexibility. It's not quite so rigid when we deal with staff, especially on a project like this or an initiative which is brand new. So presently there isn't an initiative out within the county that is moving forward on addressing poverty. And so we wanted to be flexible with the staffing requirements that we would have moving this forward. So the first contract is for Linden and Linden. It's for Michael Lindenmeyer. Mr. Lindenmeyer really is going to help us with sustainability and finding funding sources. The county at this time has virtually no budget to move this project forward. This could be a multi-million-dollar project. And we, at this point, are relying on state funds that sometimes come through the federal government, and we're looking for other type of funding sources to help us move this project forward. We're in somewhat of a precarious situation right now with the change at a federal level. We're not sure what direction they're going to go, so now is even more critical for sustainability. The second contract is for Dominica Watkins. Mrs. Watkins has worked with the Intergenerational Poverty Program from day one. She will be the manager of the program. She will work on development and continuing to strengthen our partnerships as we bring all of the stakeholders together. So that's a quick overview.
Okay, let's just take them one at a time. Request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Linden relating to the development and partnership of consulting fees.
Okay, I need to make some comments on
Absolutely.
this. So, as you probably remember from last week, I have a difference of opinion on this. I am very grateful and completely on board and along pushing forward with the concept of our intergenerational poverty initiative. I think it has been very impressive to see this program gain some momentum and some strength going forward. I am very concerned as well about Weber County having to have our taxpayers foot the bill for pushing a change in the welfare system uphill all on our own statewide. And when Commissioner Ebert says that we have state funding coming in, I would like to think that has been the intent and the hope all the way along, but I haven't seen an awful lot. The contract we talked about last week, I think, Commissioner, if I'm right, was paid for partially by a $15,000 grant. I'm not aware of any other grants to do that, and so I have concerns with large sums of money of new spending coming into our being in the responsibility of our county as we try to move this forward. Now, we have had staff working on this. We have Commissioner Ebert, as you know, has spent a tremendous amount of time working on it and has done a good job. I've been involved. I think Commissioner Bell's even been involved in this quite a bit, and we have had. I was totally comfortable with a full-time legislative administrative assistant putting time and effort towards this program. Where I become uncomfortable now is that we have now a whole bunch from the 2 contracts last week, 2 contracts this week. I'm assuming Mr. Reed is still going to work on this in the future. That takes us up to 5 individuals on contract. I'm not sure how they answer, who they answer to, what measurable benchmarks there are. I'm really concerned about the whole thing. Specifically to this first one with Mr. Lindenmeyer. We hired him 9 months ago. at a rate of $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month. I frankly have been asking for months for some kind of measurable to show what funding sources, especially if that's the main source of what he is doing, what he's claiming to do, for some kind of measurable to see what that has brought to the table, and I can see none. Maybe what we could do is tie his compensation to some funding that's brought in, but to me it is just, it's not right for us to pay an individual that kind of money on a promise and a whim. And the man's a good man. He's got great ideas. I like him. He's great. I've had some great brainstorming sessions with him, but I don't know what that I can put a finger on exactly what he's brought to the table in 9 months. So now we're going to address another contract with him, and the price has gone up by $30,000 to now $90,000. I was uncomfortable with it at 60. I'm more uncomfortable with it at 90. And so I have to make my objections clear for the record. I think that this is too much. We have to be more careful. No matter when we are doing things like this, starting new programs, we have to be able to show that there is a benefit to our taxpayers. And we've been through a brutal process of evaluating through our budgeting process what things we should cut and how we can save money to make things work and do better as we go forward. And it just seems to me to be missed when we then create a new department, basically completely outside of the county structure, that I feel very maybe a little out in the cold on where these funding sources are coming from. I have major concerns with it, and so I thought about making an amendment to the contract amount, but I don't think that'll do any good. I think that it's clear that this contract is going forward as it is, but I think I'm going to at least voice my strenuous objections to both of these contracts. I know them both, and I love them both, and they're professionals, and they do a great job. But this is not, in my opinion, this is not a wise use of taxpayer money, especially in the environment that we are in right now, where we have just asked people to sacrifice dramatically so that we could pay our law enforcement and other employees. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, please consider those statements for the record.
Thank you. So I'll go back. Do I have a motion on the floor?
Well, a couple quick comments. I think it's time for us as a county commission to start showing leadership. I completely disagree that we shouldn't be leaders in welfare reform. I think that's our responsibility. When you look at the last 10 years of money spent in areas that are directly affected by poverty, if we really want to talk about the real numbers, in the last 10 years, health, which is directly affected by poverty, we've spent over $108 million. In the last 10 years, in corrections, we've spent over $232 million. Another area that's directly affected by poverty. In human services, which is behavioral health, in the last 5 years, we've spent $148 million. In our housing authority, we've spent $7 million in just 4 areas that are directly affected by poverty, which is the driver of these costs. This county and the taxpayers of this county have spent over $496 million, almost $500 million in areas that are directly affected by poverty. If we can reduce poverty, if we can be leaders in reducing poverty, in just the financial terms that Commissioner Gibson is talking about, 10% of $496 million, pretty good amount of money. We're not even talking about the social impact, that maybe we're helping people, maybe we're affecting their lives. Maybe now They enter into the workforce and they help move our community forward. Maybe our communities start this process of healing. So if we don't lead out, if we don't show leadership, if we don't have vision, if we're not willing to take this step, who's going to take it? Because who's taken it in Weber County in the last 20 years? I say the numbers pretty much show us that no one has, and it's time for us to do it. If we want to talk winners and losers, because I think it's myopic not to understand that there's winners and losers in all of this. If you look at the last 15 to 20 years in economic development and community development, where's Weber County? Where's Utah County? Where's Salt Lake County? Where's Davis County now? So it's time for us to start showing some leadership in this. And if we take a systems approach and understand there's revenues and there's savings, revenues and expenditures, and we start working on savings and creating more revenues, the best place for us to spend our money right now, Commissioner, is in poverty. Because it costs us the most money. Not even talking about the humanistic side of this. We have to start doing this. We cannot afford not to do it anymore. If we continue to do this, we will continue to be on the back end of this urban Wasatch Front. We will continue to have the lowest economic development. We'll continue to get more of the poor because our property values will continue to be depressed, and we will continue to struggle. We have to almost leapfrog counties now. We have to be aggressive in this. We have to show leadership in this. We have to understand there's a systems approach to this. If we can address poverty, we can grow our economy, we can create a workforce, we can create a community of culture, a culture of community. We want Weber County, Ogden City, and the other adjacent municipalities to become destinations for people to want to live here. The biggest issue we can address right now has to be poverty. It's what drives all of our quality of life numbers down. And so I refuse as a commissioner to stick my head in the sand and not to do anything. And to one-off projects because maybe someone thinks it's a good idea. I am committed to a systems approach to drive this county forward. Community development, addressing poverty, addressing diversity, addressing housing, addressing economic development, attracting the right industry, creating a community that has a high cultural content is the direction that I'm really focused in on. And I don't think we can do that unless we are very thoughtful and we have a tremendous amount of vision moving this forward. Mr. Lindenmeyer helps us and assists us with this. We are creating something that's never been created before. So our wins aren't going to be next week. It takes time to develop this, just as it will take time to attract industry. We're not going to go after Boeing or after large companies because we don't see the return next week or next month or in 6 months. You attract large industry over time. You have to go visit them, as Mr. Larson will tell us numerous times, to create interest. You have to develop sites and have them shovel ready. That takes money, that takes infrastructure. That's the whole thought process we're taking with our 12th Street and our heavy industrial project. We're not shutting that down because we don't have anybody out there right now. We understand it takes time and it takes funds to do that. This is what we're doing. We are at the very doorstep, and we are so well positioned to be successful right now that to pull back and to be short-sighted in this is a mistake in my personal opinion. Mr. Lindenmeyer will help us with this. He will help us with sustainability. We have not received state funds because the state is still grappling on how they're going to dispense these TANF funds, which will be the funding source. The other area that I really didn't even touch on is I haven't even touched on within the poverty industry all of the funds that come from a federal level. The millions and millions and millions of dollars that come in through food stamps and daycare and all these other programs, that if we can have an effect, and I can't even give you a number, 10, 15, 20% effect, will this continually save the taxpayers of this county and of this state. So I think it's time for Weber County to lead out in this. I think it's time for us to show vision in it. I think we have the right team to move this forward. Every single person I've talked to is very positive, from a county level to a state level to a federal level. And we have a tremendous amount of traction on a federal level. This is the team that will make this be successful. I don't want to just have a committee or a team that's really not accomplishing anything. We're going to shoot for the moon and for the stars so that we can at least be successful. So those are my thoughts.
Well, I agree with most of what you said. I think the unfortunate part is the characterization that you made that I or Weber County is not willing to show leadership. This initiative was started several months ago. I have been completely supportive. I have been actively engaged, and I am grateful for where we are in this initiative. And I recognize that much of that has to do with the folks that we've had on board, especially Ms. Watkins. I appreciate that effort completely. Then again, in your impassioned plea to address this issue, we still have to say to ourselves, okay, what are we going to get as a return on our investment for our taxpayers? Because I don't know what else to say, but I can only assume that maybe you aren't feeling or hearing from the folks that I'm feeling or hearing from, who just a week ago got hit with a tax increase. That literally, one individual that sent me an email, his Weber County property tax alone now represents over 10% of his gross income. I don't know how we do that. I think we have to be more careful. Yes, we have to think big, but we can't just say, okay, here's our big dreams, and we're willing to throw anything we have, anything we want at those dreams with no measurables, no expectation for success. Yes, I want all these things just like you do, Commissioner Ebert, and I think we're moving the ball forward in that manner. But I do not think that we can just throw money around like this. When I saw the list that was put down in front of us and before this budget hearing with these increases, with especially the $30,000 increase to Lindenmeyer, that I have no idea how we justify that. I still haven't got any kind of a justification for that. I think we're being I think we're showing leadership already. We are showing leadership. Showing leadership to me isn't taking the easy way out and throwing money at a problem. It's figuring out how to do it within what we already have so that we don't have to put additional burden on our taxpayers, additional burden on individuals who are working hard every day, doing whatever they do on meager incomes. I mean, that's the hard part. That's showing leadership. So when you talk to me about leadership, let's not talk about creating a personal staff that basically, does whatever we want them to do and call it intergenerational poverty. Let's talk about doing the hard stuff. Let's talk about cutting our corners. Let's talk about pulling every dime we can out of every pocket, out of every corner, and making sure that individuals understand that we're looking out for them as we do that.
So do you want us to take? I can take lobbyists out of our budget. We're going to have a budget hearing here in a minute. Do you want to take?
We can take out anything.
Stuart Reed's not even in this budget.
Are we not planning on hiring Stuart Reed?
He's not in the budget.
Okay, he's on the payroll now. That's the only reason I brought his name up.
January. I'm asking what happens in January. We haven't signed a contract.
I guess we'll
you guys. I won't be here. It's something you guys are going to have to discuss on that. I can understand totally where you're coming from on that, and I think that I felt the same way a couple of years ago when Commissioner Gibson or Commissioner Ebert started talking about IGP. I didn't understand it. I understand it.
Now wait a second though. I understand it, and I'm not complaining one bit about our IGP proposal. They're separate, and that's why I don't like the characterization of someone trying to say, if you don't approve or accept these two contracts, then you don't like IGP, because that is unfair and untrue and disrespectful.
Sure.
I am completely supportive. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to open the gates and allow the type of disruption to personal family incomes that comes when we spend money in that manner. We have to be more careful. We have to be able to justify a $30,000 increase. We have to be able to justify the money that we're spending on any program. And I just want to be more educated as to how that can be done, because so far I can't see it. I cannot put it all on the backs of this county. We can show leadership. We can give staff time that we already have. But sometimes maybe we actually have to have a grant show up in our office after 9 months to prove that somebody is doing what they say they're doing. Sometime maybe we actually have to see something. Now, I understand it may not be tomorrow. It may not be tomorrow, and I'm okay with waiting because it's important enough to wait on. But that doesn't, but we just need to have a better discussion about exactly how we get there. And so far, with these contracts that have been proposed over the last couple of days, there really hasn't been a discussion in my mind as to that these are the people and this is the amount of money. I mean, I don't know. That's why I brought up Reed, because I don't know if he's part of the picture going forward. I have no idea. I know that he's the one that brought this initiative to us, the one that has explained why he thought it was important. It was his legislation that we tagged on to. I don't know if he's part of the process going forward. That's what I need to know. What is the end game for this? Is it 500,000? Is it $1 million? Is it 200,000? I don't know. But I'm concerned with where we are today.
I appreciate your concern, and I understand it totally because it is sacred money, but I'm just telling you what few dollars we want to put in this is the right thing. They're the right people. The discussions I've had and what I know about this as years have gone by, this is going to help us in a lot of things. We try to make the best decision possible. There's no question. And we have things, we have contracts that go over, we have road projects that go over, and project after project after project we do. This project has a box around it. It's not going to go over. It's a one-year project between these two things to get some things done. And I feel extremely comfortable with it. I think it's a total of $100 and how much dollars between them both? $150. So a total of $150,000 between them both. It was put in the budget when we passed a budget a couple weeks ago. And it's coming through our health department, which they've been great partners on this. I think that it's a great thing, and I understand your concern there, Commissioner. There's a lot of these concerns we have, but it was the right thing to do. The very last thing I wanted to do sitting here was raise taxes. I did not ever want to do that, but I knew my law enforcement was in trouble. Now I had to take a few other things in there as we were fixing the law enforcement to make things to work out along the way, because I'd have just done law enforcement and ended it right there. But we didn't. We moved forward. We did some things. We got some great things going on in Weber County. So
you say it's the right people. You're confident of that?
I am.
Can you give me
confident.
some comfort as to why that's the case? Why are they?
I just think they've been working real hard and doing it. I've been watching what they've been doing, and they have been doing some amazing things. It's things I don't understand. It's things in economic development. As we think beyond the box, as I see different things on there, we're doing things that I don't understand, but it's the right thing, and it seems that they're moving and shifting, and that's why some of these other counties are doing such great and wonderful things. But I feel good about both of them.
If I could just interject really quickly, and I don't want you to misunderstand from my comments, Commissioner Gibson, that I am specifically saying you are not. So don't misunderstand me. I'm not. I understand your concerns. So don't think that through the things I was saying that I was being specific to you. I was saying it's time for us to show leadership in a lot of different areas, which I think that we are. And I understand your specific concerns, but when we talk about where we're at right now with the program we are looking at, I've had a tremendous positive feedback from individuals that I think would be in the know about if we're going in the right direction. We just came back from the National Association of Counties. Matt Chase, who is the executive of the National Association of Counties, spent a tremendous amount of time talking to the team about what we were doing, and they are extremely excited to the point where they are looking at us testifying at congressional hearings. They're looking at us going in and talking to the staff of many different legislators, up to and including Speaker Ryan. I talked to Bob Hunter, who is the executive director for United Way. He's completely on board. I've talked to our lobbyist to make sure from a county and state standpoint, he's completely on board. Stuart Reed, who actually wrote the initial bill 4 or 5 years ago, says we are on board. We're working with the Aspen Institute, which is the institute that has been contracted to do a lot of the work into poverty, and they're extremely excited about how we are looking at addressing poverty, specifically intergenerational poverty. So the program that we have come up with this team, who Mr. Lindemeyer is part of, And this visioning concept, which is the first part of putting this together and working through the logistics, is being accepted not only from a county perspective, but as a state perspective and on a national perspective. I don't know what else I can say to say that this is moving forward. The issue with grants, you have to understand, we are starting brand new. There's a grant cycle you have to be in. There's no grants right now. We are working with the state legislature right now to start the process of having buckets for IGP so we can start writing grants. So there's a reason there hasn't been a specific grant allotted to this point, is because we are on the cutting edge, the cusp of really changing how we deal with the welfare system and how we deal with children that are trapped in this welfare cycle. And because we are at the very beginning of this, there is a time delay, there is a struggle as we move this forward, and that is what we're experiencing. But everything that we have put out there has been welcomed very openly. So I understand the concerns. I don't want you to think that any of my comments were specific to you or anyway saying that you are not supportive of us moving forward. I understand your concerns. Sometimes you have to put the cart before the horse. When you're loading up everything into the wagon, sometimes you put the wagon first and then you load the horses up. We're loading the wagon right now. Okay, we're creating the programs. The horses are going to be the funding, and once we get the horses, we'll hook up the horses and off we'll go. And so I just want you to know that I'm not in any way personally attacking any of your comments. And I ask that you don't feel that. I was more talking that we have to start this process, not just in maybe an area like this, but in all the other areas that I think that we are going to, over the next couple of weeks, show that there's a whole different way that Weber County is looking at moving this county forward, and this system approach, understanding how everything really fits into a system and has to be addressed. I think when we roll that out, people will say, okay, Weber County is on the move, and we'll be willing to invest here. So,
well, let me just again express my thanks. I was in the room with yourself and Ms. Watkins as you presented at NACO. You two did a tremendous job in that forum, and it is clear that we are taking very positive steps forward in this endeavor. And frankly, this kind of represents a change to me. And all I ask for as we move forward is that that we have measurables. That if we're going to ask taxpayers to sacrifice, we got to give them more than just trust me. We've got to put the cart before the horse, and later down the road somehow you're going to get a return on investment. We have to have at least a measurable benchmark that helps us to understand if we're accomplishing what we're trying to accomplish. And that's why we had a 9-month contract a 6-month contract with Lindenmeyer. When I asked what accomplishments had been met, I wasn't given any other than we think we're doing good. A contract goes on the commission agenda on the consent item, a couple of after that extends it to the end of the year, thinking that hopefully I'm hoping that at least by the end of the year I'll have measurables again that I can measure and say, okay, at least I can understand where we're going here. And then finally, again, here we are today, and still no measurables to speak of that I can put my finger on that says this is where we're going. So a year from now, I'm just hoping that we have something so that we don't have to have this discussion again, because I just feel like it's too important for us. First of all, the goal is critical, as you expressed it so eloquently. But how we get there is important too. How this goes forward, moves forward into the future. The process that we take, the systems approach. It just can't be. We see this great payoff at the end, and so we're willing to do anything that we can or anything that we want or desire in the meantime to get that. I think we have to be able to say, okay, this is what we can dedicate to it, and this is the measurables that are going to come from what we've dedicated to it, and here's the result at the end of those measurables. If not, we have to take a different path. And so 9 months into this contract, I haven't seen anything that says we shouldn't be taking a slightly different path. But I also think we're making tremendous progress going forward. So I've said enough. I'm ready to vote, but I just want to, again, thank especially Domenica. I think she has done a tremendous job on this effort. She's done exactly what she's been told. Does a tremendous job representing us, and Commissioner, you as well. You've done a good job, and as with all areas of our county, each commissioner has different responsibilities. It's their job to show leadership on those responsibilities. I will just say you have done a tremendous job pushing this initiative forward. But I will just say, and I'm not criticizing, I'm asking, part of showing leadership is to help others understand if there is a benefit that they are not seeing. In this particular case, all of this spending, I'm having a hard time justifying. So that's where I'm at on this contract.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor yet? Somebody want to make a motion to request for approval of contract between Weber County and Linden related to development and partnership consulting services?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second? I second it. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Going to number 8, the request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Domenica Watkins relating to the development partnership of consulting services.
I'll make a motion.
I've got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I'll second it. We have a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Oh, any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Passes. Going to number G, public hearing. Request for motion to adjourn public meeting, convene public hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 2, come on up here, Chad. Public hearing to provide the opportunity for representatives from nonprofit organizations as well as others to discuss potential projects, including county projects. This is Mr. Chad Meyerhofer.
Thanks, Commissioners. Yep, it is that time of year to have our public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Program, or the CDBG program. So this is part of the process for applying for the CDBG funds. So there's a few requirements we have to have in here. So bear with me while I read through some of these things, and we'll go from there. So this hearing is being called to consider potential projects for which funding may be applied for under the 2017 Community Development Block Grant Program. The national objectives is for grant money to be primarily spent to benefit low to moderate income persons, but other national objectives include using funds to aid in the prevention or elimination of slum and blight, and may also be used to meet urgent needs because existing conditions pose a serious and immediate threat to the health and welfare. The grant money must be spent on projects benefiting primarily low and moderate income persons. The Wasatch Front Regional Council, in which Weber County is a member, is expecting to receive approximately $1 million in this new program year. All eligible activities that can be accomplished under this program are identified in the CDBG application, policies and procedures manual, and interested persons can review at any time. Several of the eligible activities listed, including examples such as construction of public works and facilities, examples water and sewer lines, fire stations, acquisition of real property, provisions of public services such as food banks or homeless shelters. Also eligible are loan programs for private businesses which would then hire low-income persons and homeowners. The Incorporated County does not currently have any active grant projects. In the past, Weber County as a whole has sponsored the Weber Housing Authority in a project that offers incentives for first home buyers. In the past, Weber County has also received grants for modifications of restrooms for the Weber County Library to bring them more in compliance with ADA standards, and emergency housing rehabilitation projects that was administered through the Weber Housing Authority. Developing AD-compliant campsites, installing AD-compliant door hardware at the fairgrounds, installing storm drain in low to moderate income communities to reduce flooding, installation of wheelchair ramps at street intersections to make pedestrian sidewalks more accessible, as well as sponsoring nonprofit agencies such as Your Community Connection, Ogden Weber Community Action Agency, Catholic Community Services, and others. The county has handed out its capital investment plan as part of the Regional Consolidated Plan. This list shows which projects the county has identified as being needed in the community. It's asked that anyone with questions or comments or suggestions during this hearing, please identify themselves by name before they speak, and the clerk will include your names in the minutes, and we'd like to specifically respond to your questions and suggestions during the hearing. So at the How to Apply meeting, I wasn't contacted by any nonprofit agencies. However, Andy Beatles with the Weber Housing Authority was there at the How to Apply meeting, and I believe she's looking at submitting a pre-application for grant. She is actually here, so I think I'll give the time over to her to have her come up and kind of explain her projects, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. So the Weber Housing Authority is interested in submitting 2 applications this year, one for an emergency rental and deposit assistance program and another for down payment assistance. So the emergency rental and deposit assistance program, we are interested in applying for $30,000 to assist 60 households in Weber County with emergency rental assistance in order to avoid homelessness, and then also the deposit assistance to assist homeless households get into a unit. This program would be offered to households at 50% of the area median income. And then the second program is our down payment assistance program, which would be offered to individuals at 80% of the area median income, which are moderate income households. We're interested in applying for $50,000 to assist 10 first-time homebuyers in purchasing their first home in Weber County.
Awesome. I think that is one thing that is going to help with the IGP stuff we've talked about, the opiate abuse. This all ties in. I've spent a lot of year working in the jail and in corrections. These people have nowhere to go, and we send them out the door.
And there currently isn't a program in Weber County that offers emergency rental assistance.
And I'm glad to see that we're moving forward with that. We have some responsibilities as a government with some people and to help them out as much as we think that they should need to be handled by charities or other people or somebody else or not in my backyard, but we have a responsibility there. So I appreciate what you've been doing with the Housing Authority. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's great. Commissioners, go ahead.
The down payment assistance program, is that a payback program?
Yes, it is. So if the participant lives in the home for 5 or more years, then $4,000 is gifted, and they just have to pay back $1,000 upon sale of the property. And then we just continue to recycle that funding back into the community through the down payment assistance program.
We've had that in the past. Are we still receiving money back, or have people aged out because they've stayed in their homes?
Yeah, we both. Yeah, we do. So we are continuing to get funding back. We don't have any new funding, so the funding that we are issuing back out into the community are paybacks on the loans.
But if they sell the house, there's something in the title work that they have to pay us back before they can collect all the money on the house, right?
Right. We put a lien on the property.
Yeah. Perfect.
So what's really exciting about this emergency rental is we operate off of housing first, understanding that in the past we wanted people to get in these programs and show progress and get their life a little squared away, and then we try to get them somewhere that was stable. And what we found out is because they're not stable in housing, they never can actually fulfill any of these responsibilities in all these different programs, and so we contribute a little bit to them never really getting back on their feet. I shouldn't say contribute, but we could do a better job. And this Housing First model, which this will help, really gets them housed, and then the whole process of dealing with the behavioral health or maybe an issue with narcotics or drugs or other things, we can then start getting them some assistance because they're stabilized within their life. So I think it's a great program.
We also, just to add to that, we will require that they participate in a budgeting course, a basic financial management course with Cottages of Hope before we issue the payment.
Thank you. So this is our public hearing on this project. We're going to have 2 little public hearings today. So does anybody else want to comment on this subject we just talked about? Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Unless you have anything else?
Nope, I think that's it. Thanks,
Okay.
Commissioners. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Number 3, request public hearing regarding amendments to the operating budget of Weber County for 2016 calendar year. Scott?
Do we have to go out of the public hearing?
Nope, we got another public hearing.
Another public hearing, one more for you.
So Scott, Scott's gonna go through the budget changes, and I've looked them over already, and let's go ahead.
Okay, these are 2016 calendar year budget changes, so not the 2017 year. We passed that a couple weeks ago. This is 2016, and basically
Hallelujah.
what we're basically doing is adjusting the budget for grant revenues that we've received, increases in service revenues that resulted in a higher cost of that service. So you'll notice that first section, $2.1 million of increased revenue offset by $2.1 million of increased expenditures. So we're basically, we received a grant and we're spending the grant. So that's what that first section is. Unless there's any questions on that, I'll just jump down to the second section.
Nope.
Other changes, so these are either grants that didn't fully fund the cost of the project or just other miscellaneous changes. I'll just highlight a few of them. Our salary savings realized in departments, so we budget to save $1 million a year on payroll, that's with turnover, but we don't save that in one department, we save it in all the departments. So this is just an accounting entry. We're not going to spend an additional $1 million. We're saving that money when people quit, and then we take 2 months to hire them. The saving is realized in the department, not in one central location. So that's what that $1 million is. We rolled over some projects from 2015 that didn't quite get finished in 2015, so they were in the 2015 budget. We've moved them forward to the 2016 budget. We've had a couple of grant and equipment purchases that we had planned to do in the 2017 budget, but we can take advantage of some pricing if we order before the end of the year, so we're moving that to spend it out of the 2016 budget instead of the 2017 budget. And we also issued a $9.8 million bond to fund some sales tax projects. The money for that repayment will come from the transportation sales tax. So we'll get that paid back for, but we just need authorization to spend the bond proceeds. And also some transportation projects. These were amendments that have gone through WACOG and were approved. We just need to actually fund them now. So unless you have any specific questions, I would submit to you these
Commissioner Ebert,
changes.
do you have any questions? I've been through this, so Commissioner, do you have any more? I'm sure you've been through it too.
I have, and I appreciate Scott. You know, this is a step that we have to take every year.
Every quarter.
Every quarter, especially every year. We used to do it every year, and now we do it every quarter. And I just have to say I've been continually impressed with Scott's attention to detail. He really knows what he's doing. I like his dry auditing attitude.
Yes, it is dry.
But well, I said I liked it. Right? It's what we need in this position. We have policymakers that you know that have a very different role, and you've seen the sausage today, and that's great. And I'm just grateful to have experts and professionals all throughout the county that help us with the types of things that you do. And so, Ricky, I think you're to be commended in your department for putting this whole thing together. So I want to offer my thanks and gratitude to Scott.
Okay, thank you. So now this is public comment from the budget. We're going to still have public comment for the commission meeting. So now, if any public would like to talk about the budget changes
Or the CDBG.
or the CDGB, we've kind of talked about that already. But if you want to talk about that, if you want to talk about the weather outside, this isn't the time. That's coming up in a minute. So does anybody want to come up? Okay, request for a motion to adjourn public hearing, reconvene public meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Action on them. We'll take them one at a time. To, what are we calling that for the CBG thing? What do you want me to call that letter? Or is it a letter, a resolution? What is it?
Is there any
It's no
action to
action.
take? Was it just a report on the CBG?
That's just a report. Okay. Then tell me about what action do you want me to take on the public hearing regarding the budget changes? Just
Approving the resolution.
a resolution number. Resolution number 38. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a resolution 38.
Second on 38.
Got a motion and a second on the floor. It's going to be a roll call vote unless there's more discussion.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Commissioner Ebert,
Aye.
and Chair Bell.
Aye. Passes. We're done there. Now, we're going into public comment now.
I'd like to talk about the weather outside.
Okay.
I
we'll
heard
give you
it's
a minute.
frightful.
Commissioner Everett has to leave in 6 minutes, so you're gonna make it quick. We weren't gonna have a commission meeting next week. There are some things on the docket, and I, of course, probably want to say something if I can get a word in between these two. I'm gonna try to next week, and so we'll have a commission meeting. It shouldn't be real long next week, but that's what we thought last week.
Well,
So,
I had
we
heard
will
that
see you next week.
I had heard that we weren't going to have commission meeting last week or next week, and it sounds like maybe we will because of something that comes up. But just in case we don't, being close to Christmas, I just want to, if we don't, then this would be the last commission meeting for Commissioner
But
Bell.
if we do, can we play this message somewhere
play it,
just continually, and we don't have to get it again
I'll
next week?
repeat it. It's
Okay, so
important.
we're gonna get it twice, is what we're saying. Go ahead.
I would like to thank you, Commissioner Bell, for your service over the years. As we heard today, we don't always agree on the issues, but we have a lot, and that really doesn't matter to me. What matters is that I've seen your desire to serve the public. You have a heart of gold. You're a good man that maybe just a little bit misunderstood at times.
Yeah, I'm
But,
used to it. Me and Donald Trump are in the same boat, and
Maybe
I
it's-
really feel good that I'm with good company.
Maybe it's because sometimes you look a lot different than other times, depending on
Yes,
different-
true.
different attire and hair situations. But Commissioner, I just want to tell you that it's been a pleasure to serve with you, and I'm grateful for your service, and wish you all the best in your upcoming endeavors, whatever they may be, and wherever in the world they may be. I'll leave it at
Wherever
that.
part's what's important. Thank you. All right, well, we've got a motion to adjourn, so I'll take that. Let's go to I. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Woo. All I can say is